Hello there, everybody. Yeah, I'm about 5 minutes early. And hey, Joel Walsh and the James Gang, I can't go wrong. That's all I got to say about that. How are you doing on this fantastic Prosperity Day? It's not Monday, it's Prosperity Day. It's out there, so claim it. I mean, if you don't, somebody else will. They'll get your share. So welcome, everybody. So good to see everyone. Let me just say, favor, baby, favor all over us and all over the world because the world needs it. Little tents out there. Everybody just, wow, yeah. We need an opposing and not only equal, but greater than opposing force to all this negativity. Hello, Heidi. How are you doing, my dear? So good to see everyone. Speaking of which, as many of you are aware, Martin passed on over, and I thought I would just share this with everybody. There's Martin, and you know, his spirit is exactly what it showed here. And Heidi, we love you. And I have no doubt, I know this, that his energy surrounds you. He's getting another piece of the puzzle. So, Martin, the Soul Tribe salutes you. We speak to you with favor and we honor you. Look at that. And I got an idea that Tony is somewhere. Tony is the puppy dog. And Martin, we just want to say thank you. Thank you for your energy. Thank you for your wisdom, your life that you lived, and you shared that small portion with us who call the Soul Tribe. So there he is. And yeah. The journey continues. Death is but just a window, folks. It is not real in the sense that we think it's this, you know, well, in one instance, let's just say it's dead. We don't like to think of ourselves as dead. Why? Because we're living spirits. So much love to you, Heidi. We're here. We surround you. And based on the responses to the posting I put on Saturday, Heidi, much love, girl. Man, got the whole thing going on twice. So there we go. We love you, and we'll still be here. You're still part of the Soul Tribe family, and love your energy. So welcome, everybody. David Castle, how you doing, brother? And I know Rufus will be right there with you. Teresa, good to see you. Guy and Paul, much love. Nina, how you doing, girl? Good show that you had there. Let's see, Loretta and Scotty Boy. David Barry, I hear you're cooking. It's pretty cool. Kathy, hello. Isby, much love to you. Andrew, and everybody else. Thank you. Thank you for being a part of this journey. And it's fun. So Big Al, you know, I wanted to show you a couple of the I think I may only be able to do one on this because of, you know, sometimes that's just the way it is, you know. But I want you all to see this fantastic work, Al. This is what you're going to be getting with these cards. And Al says we're almost there. Think about, I don't know, 10, 12 orders or so. But these are going to be unlike anything that's out there. Number one, they got the concentration of the artist, the one that's channeling the energy. And I have absolutely, you know, it's the difference between knowing and believing. Believing means you can change your mind. Knowing, it's settled with you. Yeah. Yeah. These angels, I have no doubt we're making connection with Al. The spirit realm, we have been taught that they don't want to hear us. It's just the opposite. They very much, that's what religion is all about. Religion is a Ouija board. You know, whether you've got your device of prayer, whether you've got your name of Jesus, whatever it is, drinking holy water, whatever the case may be. The point is, it's a connection. It's a connection to the ethereal spiritual realm. And my whole point to these cards here is that the book of Psalms is a book of praise. It's a great book. You ought to read it. You know, if you can extrapolate out of the religious context, it's poetry. And again, the energy that will be endowed into these cards are going to be phenomenal. And Al, we can't thank you enough. This is, again, go over to the Crystal Network link provided below. And man, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So what else is going on? Yeah, and let me just say to Karen, you are the epitome of what it means to have a strong work ethic. Love it, gal. Love it. Love you. And Al and Karen, we got to get you on when we get the order in, and we ought to make it a real celebration, because in this group, it is a celebration. It's our celebration. You know, may not be the rest of the world's, but it's ours. So much of our energy went into these cards as well. Everyone had a part in it. So yeah, that's all I got to say about that. So what else? Oh, right after my show, in fact, I'm going to end it a little bit early. That's why I came on a little bit early. I'm going to be over with True Divine 44, Jenny. And yeah, going to be her advocate, as they would say. She has been harassed, bullied by religious zealots. And, you know, as I wrote to them, I'm your huckleberry and I'm a coming. And just remember what White Earp said. Yeah. All right. Let's continue to move on. Hey, Grace, how you doing? So good to see you. Right there with you, Scotty boy. Right there with you. So join me. Tune over there on Jenny's channel. And let's make it a happening. Listen, I like healthy debate. Healthy debate's fun. It's good. But when you become zealot or use it as a proselytizing tool, it's no longer a debate. It becomes, you know, conversion therapy. Screw that. Had enough of that. Open-minded. Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. That's exactly what it is. Which is the perfect segue into what we're going to be talking about. So I'm going to share some more. I finished the book on the Ouija board. And again, as it is in most postmodern era, there is so much confusion, so much biasness, bigotry, shall I say, out and outright spiritual racism. And that's a term I am to this day putting out there. There is a spiritual racism. In fact, the bigotry in the spirit realm from the human side is far worse than any color of any skin. In fact, the racism and the bigotry that exist in the spirit realm, as humans perceive it, is who wants to go there? I mean, think about this. We are so bigoted in our perception of the spirit realm. Because on one hand, well, if I pray, that's completely acceptable. But if I use a device in my prayer, we're going to burn your ass to the stake, boy. And yet, It is the ever gnawing question, what happens? And it's really the question and fulfillment of what happens that drives us to seek out the knowledge. And so the Ouija board, why is it everybody thinks that that is evil? Come on, folks. Let's just put off the bigotry. Let's put our biases aside, because I'm going to ask you a simple question. How is a Ouija board any different from using a pendulum? How is a Ouija board any different than a REM pod, modern day technology? How is the Ouija board any different than divining rods? I don't know. How is the Ouija board any different than scouring? How is the Ouija board any different than using a crystal ball? So when I read the comments earlier, and how is the Ouija board any different than using a modern day spirit box? And if you don't like that one, they got different models. And then we can really begin to detect those spirits. And furthermore, we can actually record them. Oh, crap. Are you trying to tell me, sir, that, well, yeah, what I'm trying to say is, how is this any different than a Ouija board? And I don't have mine here yet, but when it does arrive, we're going to talk more about it, because as I began to understand more about the device, the modality, it's a powerful tool. Now, the history of it is very interesting, whether you want to call it a spirit board. But my question is, why is it associated with evil? Because as I've just painstakingly showed everybody, how are any other of these modalities different than a Ouija board? I mean, I'd like to know. And if you have a good, reasonable answer, if you're in the chat room, please tell me. Because I'm sitting here, I have all of these devices. Hell, I've got a camera that actually will film them in different spectrums of light. So how is this any different? And if you take this, that you're saying that, well, it's somehow evil, then what you're implying then is that it's all evil on the other side. Now, let's all be real honest and adult here. The reason why it has a bad reputation is that you have kids, and I mean adults, they're kids. They're using something that they have no knowledge about. Oh, it's entertaining, it's fun, and it's interesting that its inventor, made it for children. David says it's an Aboriginal tool. Okay, so discredited, hence evil port. Yeah. You see, I don't buy that, David. My take on it, this is that if that's what you're projecting, if that's what you're anticipating to be frightened, you're anticipating to be scared, you got no business using any of these different devices. They'll all get you in trouble. Again, children. The original inventor said it was the best video game of its day. He didn't use video game because he didn't know what they were, but it's the equivalency. In fact, I contend that most video games, particularly immersive reality, is no different than a Ouija board. No different than if I am using a cauldron to cast a spell, or if I use crystals as a modality. How is it any different? When I was in Christianity as a minister of the gospel, we used the same type of devices in our covens. Yes, Christianity, when you go to church, that's a coven. When you're in a congregation, you're in a coven. And as a coven, you're going to use different instruments in order to connect to the spiritual realm. Because every human longs to see the supernatural. They long to see God. They want to see the power of God. They want to see it in full manifestation. And then we just turn it, if you're outside the coven, well, what is simply supernormal becomes paranormal. What is natural becomes supernatural. Right? I mean, I'm just telling it like it is. In fact, in the coven, they do something that is beyond what any practitioner of their particular talent is. Whether that's a seer, a medium, an intuitive, an empath. But you see, we don't go quite to the extent that they go in these covens. They use, again, this thing called baptism. Holy shit. I mean, if you really want to get into that, we will one day, because that ain't anything like it's purported to be. But that's the issue. You see, we rile against these tools, these devices that humankind have always used, whether it was bones, dice, a number of different things. We've always had the connection to the spiritual realm. And yet, isn't it odd how we want to see, experience the supernatural, the paranormal? We're so ignorant. We really don't know what we want. And if you go into a situation where you don't have defined goals, or at least the boundaries of perception, get ready. Because, darling, you're about to ride the tiger. But my point again here is, so you have a loved one. Last year, I lost both of my parents. In the last year, my wife and I, Lynn, we've lost a lot of friends, relatives. And all of us sit here and we gather each day because we find strength amongst the like-minded. And we all talk about, well, there's different things about, divination. By the way, this is a great little book. I have told you about it before. You should read it. And then, we got this thing, how magic works. And the fact that the modern day world sees magic as nothing more than illusion and deception. And yet it has a certain truth to that. The reason why it's an illusion and deception is not to allow the common person, the uninitiated, ever to have access into that realm where magic is the normal, where magic is the natural state of things. And so modern day, we use illusions. And today, many of these paths, they initiate through the electronic digital medium. This program is using a medium. We are, in essence, not seeing me so much. You're seeing the image of me. I can't see anyone here, but I can see their names, and many of them I can associate a picture to the name. But again, in a real sense of the word, that is the true digital state. Now, let's continue. So we find religions, we find many different belief systems, and really, if you sift out all the bullshit and just get down to brass tacks here, what you're really dealing with is how does humankind connect to the ethereal, the spiritual realm. And if it does exist, and if we actually exist beyond this thing called death, then why is it forbidden for us to talk to those of us we've loved, knew, who supposedly transcended to the other side, made the transition, but we can talk to an imaginary make-believe God or unseen deity and expect it to answer us, but we can't talk to our loved ones? How asinine is that? But yet we're taught from, particularly here in the Western realm, the world, that's spooky. That's evil. But yet we certainly pray for the angels to protect us. And how is prayer any different than working with a Ouija board? If I'm praying, oh God, send me money because I need money, instead of maybe asking the spirits, what is it that I really need? May not be money at all, but yet I bought the lottery ticket. Maybe God will hear my prayer. Maybe he'll answer it. Again, could we not say, for debate's sake, that maybe the vast majority are using a device that, A, we don't know what the person's intent really was other than making a buck. Maybe it was as it's written. He was looking for something to pacify the children's time to give the parents a break. Modern day parents can dig that, their reality. That's why they give them the electronic babysitter. Now, the average child by the age of 6 months is understanding the blue light. And how is that any different in connecting to the spirit realm, the ethereal realm? It is, after all, called the Ethernet. Oh, we've changed it to the internet, and now we're advancing to the neural net. My question is, how soon will it be before we have a digital representation of devices like the divining rods or aromatherapy or understanding the science? I mean, think about it, folks. How is this any different? And when they do make that connection, I wonder how much more intense is it really going to be, because they've already laid the path. This metaverse that we've talked about, man, I'm going to tell you what, it's, if I would put a caution, I would put a caution on that. You see, if you study the spirit realm, then why would the Ouija board be a violation of any previous natural law that you use, let's say, with the tarot cards or scouring? How is it any different? I can't read everything in the chat room, but yes, I do know about the 1099A. It's that will be for a different time. Let's see. The board gives me the ability to talk to them and find out what's going on. Very good point, Linda. Thank you. Now, this is going to be the next segue, because the fact of the matter is, I dare say the vast majority don't know how to talk to the spirits. We have to understand, for the most part, they can't communicate because we can't hear them. Our audible senses are so low. And in the spirit realm, the frequency is so high. That's why animals, dogs, can perceive the spirits more than we can. So if we take that and move forward with it, so how do you communicate to a spirit? Let's say, how would you know how to communicate to a spirit? How would you know that a spirit was answering or talking to you? For the most part, we wouldn't unless you are specifically gifted in that as a medium. Many of us are. I don't pursue it because, well, when you know you're good at something, yeah. But I approach it in a different way because I happen to know some of us possess this natural ability or a gifting where our antennas, our transmitters are always on. So are our receivers. We're natural conduits to the other side. Many of us have struggled most of our lives in wondering sometimes that the whirlwind always seemed to be around us, never really understanding that what really is happening is that in the spirit realm, they see this. They know this. And when you're not picking up the receiver, it gets frustrating, and because many of them are very determined. They seek out conduits. Many of us are here. This is why we gather. And that leads me to a point. If you would like to be in an experiment, and here is what I want to do, you'll have to have your own spirit board, and I will have mine, and then we will set up via a video conference, and we will connect into the spirit realm, connecting to the planchette on each of our ends. The experiment will be, can we make a connection to the planchette on the spirit board? Can we concentrate and connect strong enough that the movement I would experience would be the same movement you would experience? Anyone game for that? Email me and let me know, because I think that would be an interesting experiment. The spirits are there. Our ancestors knew how to connect to them. So things advance even in the spirit realm. People get this crazy idea that time stops in the spirit realm. No, time is that God, that realm as well. It just has a different form of time, but things do advance. Alien Believer says, what if we connect to the dark ones who lie? All right, that's a good question, because Alien Believer, here's my question. Would you agree to the following statement? The vast majority of humans are gullible and naive. Yes or no? I'll wait. There's about 30-second delay between me and your reality. See, my reality is in this reality, but yours is delayed into my reality. So there's Jenny. Jenny, I'll be joining you a little bit after the top of the hour. So Morgan says, yes. Yes. TL says, yes, we are, aren't we? And why is that? Well, it's because we've never been trained to trust our intuition. So if someone's going to deceive you, are you saying then that you are completely a neophyte in anything intuition, that you have absolutely no connection to yourself? That small voice who says, don't do it. Can you hear that voice? Do you trust that voice? Because what it really points out is that the vast majority of people don't trust themselves. Wow. So evil spirits, I study them here all the time. All of you gather here every weekday. It's what we study. We want to know, well, then what's evil then? How come that we define the evil spirit by a set definition of parameters that have been constructed by someone or something else? Why is it evil? Oh, it's going to lie to you. All right, so now we got to ask the question, so what does a spirit get from deceiving or lying to the realm of the living dead, us? Because this is the living dead. And then that makes the question, so are they the spiritual dead? Do we want to become, and we like the idea, well, no, there's the spiritual alive. I contend we don't even know what alive is, but anyway. So why would a spirit lie to you? American Bully Grease says, Wayne, a spirit is evil only if we have proof about that. You know, there's that big, and I agree. I happen to say that that's that human side of our racism. We're racist where spirits are concerned because we're going to put you into two categories. You're going to be black or you're going to be white because we're segregationist. We want to segregate the spirit realm because it's easier to believe that, well, they perceive and do everything like we see it. So we have only the evil comes through the Ouija board. Really? There's a vast majority of others who would say you're wrong. You don't know how to drive the car. You ought to put it aside, learn to read the manual, and then pick it back up and see if you can drive properly. Because if the spirits are going to speak to me through a tarot deck, are going to speak to me through divining rods, going to speak to me through mirroring, or any other way, through a spirit box electronically, it indicates one of two things. We have no knowledge of what really is going on over there, or they're merely meeting our expectation. And again, why would a spirit lie? What could be gained from a spirit lying to you? If it's lying to you, well, it's the same process of a human lying to you. You're obviously so desperate for an answer of some kind, or you would rather be lied to than have to deal with the truth. And what is the truth? By whose standard? And so if I say it's a good spirit, well, how do I know it's a good spirit? How do I know its intent? Linda says you have control over the device. If you state the intention, the spirit cannot lie to you. There's another, and I agree, there's other ways that you can do this as well. I found it interesting in my occult indoctrination and initiation by the years I spent in Christianity. The master magician, Paul, Saul of Taurus, he was quite the magician. Very well versed. He knew who Lilith was, studied her. But anyway, I digress. He said, and I quote, "You are to test the spirits." Because you see, in my indoctrination, I knew what Ephesians 6:12 was. I know I didn't wrestle with flesh and blood, but with spirits, depositions, principalities. I can name you all 6 different levels of that spiritual realm. Peter wrote, "Beware that the devil walks as a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour." And those are souls. That's spiritually. It's not physically. So I was well versed with this. And the thing is, I met many of the divine ones. We call them demons. And really, if it exists, and I say if, because no one's adequately explained to me how you have a made-up name with a made-up religion that suddenly controls all the bad guys. Because we don't hear about the bad girl demons, do we? No, they're always in the male construct. I don't know. Do you think there may be something askew here? Coquito? So again, how is this Ouija board evil? Because if it is evil, if something like Hollywood, and that's all it is, it's Hollywood. It plants the seed into you. You're programmed. You're going to get exactly what you put your nickel in for. Most people want a scary situation because they're not there for any purpose other than to be entertained. And the truth of the matter is, there's no greater entertainment than the entertainment of fear. Fear is what has made Hollywood what it is. Fear is what makes everything what it is. We love fear. Why? Because it gets the endorphins, the adrenaline. Boo! You see, we love that. Why? Because it gives us a rush. And I dare say that people that go and do ghost hunting, they're going to get exactly what they put their nickel in for. This day, it's probably $5, but anyway. So, how is this Ouija board evil? Now, I wonder what would happen if you went in knowing exactly this. The ethereal realm, the spirit realm, ain't like this one. None of us know exactly what's going on. There seems to be this natural law. But, Linda, be more than happy to have you on. Love to hear what your readings were, because you bring up exactly that point. You know, you can have a seance with just yourself. You do realize that, right? Yeah. And if the spirits really do exist, then we're never alone. Now, there are master spirits. But again, if you go in with exactly knowing how to protect yourself, I mean, you don't go in on the wrong side of town acting like a fool, throwing out challenges, throwing out expletives, making challenges of the things you don't know about that neighborhood. Because if you do, you can get your ass whooped. You may get worse. You may get killed. Spirit realm, same way. Now, many people go under the guise that, well, in the name of Jesus, well, fine. That's kind of like having Superman's cape. Ain't going to help you fly, but it looks good. All right. Now, I know differently. I know now the sigils and the symbolism used in my former religion. And Hollywood, again, novels, hundreds of years old, use the crucifix. The crucifix. Of course, when they get their ass kicked by a real spirit, they go, well, what the hell happened, man? Well, it's because religion doesn't play a real big role on the other side. Not nearly as much as it does here. And that's another reason why people get attacked. Because they're in the wrong side of town. Now, if you go into that side of town and you understand exactly what the social economic culture is, and you have the ability to blend in, how well do you blend in the spirit realm? Or do you stick out like a sore thumb? Think about that. But again, and you go about your business inconspicuously, you might find people that really will come up and actually help you, even in the darkest side of town. Why? Well, it's because what you're projecting, right? So again, if I were to approach it, and this is what I'd like someone, I need someone who is psychically in tune to this, because I believe that there can be a connection made. And as I've read this book, and I just want to show you what the little time I got left here. By the way, there are a couple of good ones. This one is really a delightful book. Solitary Seances. How you can have a conversation with the spirits all on your own. Part of my experience with the planchette, when the spirit board as well, using the electronic devices I have as well in connection with all this. I believe that this realm does exist. This is another book we're going to be getting into, if you like it. It talks about the working with the Ouija board and angels. Now, people say, well, how do you know for sure that they're not misrepresenting? There are tests. Sometimes most directly is to ask them directly. So this book here is The Secret of Success of Using the Ouija board. I wanted to bring this out because the author here, she really brings out a point. Those who have departed this realm, they carry their intelligence, their consciousness, their memories. They do know how to communicate. But even in this realm, if a person loses their ability or not, or let's say born without the ability to speak or to see or to hear, you have to learn how to communicate differently. You can't expect a spirit being to speak to you in a conversation. That's not going to happen. Not saying it can't, but for the most part, that isn't going to happen. Remember, they're struggling to try to get their message. They realize the challenges of you being sensitive enough and understanding how that message is going to come through, because they send it through the veil, the separation, and you are the target for the message. They know that it will most likely enter in through the solar plexus. And as that message travels up to meet the mind, the brain, your thought meets those. Now, it can either be a train wreck or it can be a marriage. That's some of the reason why the Ouija board helps in a lot of this area. And if you can begin to understand that there are really two messages, you're anticipating an answer, and the spirit of your loved one or whoever it is speaking, what their goal, their intent is. It shows me that this realm is much, much different than any of us ever could think of. Let me just read this because, okay. So what she says in here is that they approach the spirits for dictation. So dictators, they dictate. Back in the day when, before we had computers, that's what my secretary did. She took dictation, shorthand. Anyway, there are the orgs. I want to let you know this. He says, our dictators do not want the company of evil spirits or the orgs. They say repeatedly, but they are sent just the same, as they must know also whatever is going on for the future uses and judgment. Now, there are evil spirits, apparently, in the sense of evil being contrary to another agenda, one of peace. And that isn't the devil or God. It's not religious at all. It's a state of the universe. These orgs are called the earthbound spirits of evil, for they do not care to raise higher in intellectuality. They don't want to ascend. They are perfectly happy with the way things are. Why? Because us humans, we give them more entertainment than eternity itself. They originated from the evil source, and it is their function to tempt, coerce, cajole the human being to evil in all of its forms. Okay. Character, you can't deny that. So if you have no character, it means you have no integrity. If you have no integrity, you're not trustworthy. Hence, it is now the wish and determination of heaven. Remember when this was written, almost well over 100 years ago, to give humans disposed to work for the good of earth, a cleaner vision between right and wrong, to strengthen their armor against the increasingly powerful forces of destruction and disintegration. Believe me, when I say from this experience that the human being is never free from the connecting force to the beyond, he is at liberty to choose his company in the forces of the beyond now, whether good or bad, when thinking, acting, or communicating, just as he does his earthly friends. Wow. Hence, the honor and discrimination of the communicator is only the fence for repelling would-be evil dictators from the other side, as much as we regret to admit it. And even then, at times, the evil cannot be entirely avoided. And it's the same process whether you're having a reading through a tarot card session, any type. You're kind of depending on the intuitive, of the medium. But by all means, you have a stake in it as well. So let's continue. So I hope I have made it plain to you that this new force of communication, not new in years, but always new in experience, is a force aside from electricity, a more important force, which we may know for the time being only as spirit force, and which is communicated through our, to them, pregnantable bodies by means of the solar plexus, the nerve wires, and the mental brain. Also, that they have numerous obstacles to contend with. We don't ever talk about that. Hence, it is not to be wondered that many messages are twisted. The amount of concentration on the other side to get a message to this side to a receptive human soul is wow. Or if a person or persons using the board are insincere and disrespectful, they receive attention from forces of the same nature, nothing more. One must be in quest of high and worthwhile thoughts to receive such in return. And what the world wants now is not agitation, theory, nor scientific speculation. It wants facts. The following paragraph was dictated direct from the board. There is never a moment when mortals are alone. If one or more spirits leave the mortal, another group may come to take their place. Or the mortal may have direct inspiration from his guardian angel, who is never away, but is part of the heavenly spirit, which has the power to divide itself, part being with the mortal on earth and another half in its rightful holy sphere. Who taught us this? Lilith. Isn't that what she told us? Each of us have our true selves in this realm that, well, I guess the best way to say it, we don't soil ourselves. Says our message may not be complete. Can you understand why this is? The solar plexus is the spiritual brain. It is thousands of times more sensitive than the earthly brain. If it is wholly in touch with one spirit control, its nerve centuries carry the complete message to the subconscious mind, which controls the earthly brain independently of earthly thoughts. When the message is carried to the brain from the solar plexus, the nerves that carry earthly thought becomes tense. This is what causes a person to concentrate. One word that does not belong to a spiritual message will hinder the medium from getting clear messages, as it is part of her own earthly thought that comes mixed with the spiritual thought unconsciously. That is why concentration must be thorough, so that spiritual and earthly thoughts do not clash. If your eyes could see spiritually, you would see a violet reflection all over this room. We, the spirits, are pinkish white shadow, full formed. If you could see our faces, you would see us as we looked in health upon the earthly sphere. The board is spitting out little flashes of blue light from friction. So anytime you're using the board and the planchette, understand in the spirit realm, holy crap, you know, you cannot see it, nor could we. We were not above your mental vision. In the earlier part of our work, for the more convenience or a figure of speech, our spiritual dictators frequently called this spirit force by the name of Ouija or spirit dwarf. I explain this so that in the following quotations direct from the board, you will understand its significance, how little Ouija operates the board. And, okay, I'll go for a little bit here. While we two ladies were engaged one evening with the planchette, two friends called as if casually and were invited to be seated. Our control excused themselves from the subject which we were engaged, and without any question from other callers, wrote out, I will tell you, these men, what they came to find out. They want to know what power drives the little heart-shaped table of the Ouija. One of them is already true to the beliefs in spirit. And I will break off there. I love this stuff. So anyway, maybe not everybody's cup of tea, but I think for the rest of us, this is interesting. And again, you know, it could be like us finding a UFO craft, an alien craft. We ain't got a freaking clue as to exactly how to fly it, but we know it flies. We know it flies really quickly. We know a lot about it. It's just we're not really good at how to, well, number one, turn it on, and if we could, flying it. So there we go. I will be curious to see how people define now, you know, how one medium is good or evil, how one is acceptable, but the other is shunned. I mean, is it on the other, in the spiritual realms? What? They got a sign over the door says, here, enter here. There, I don't know. I mean, okay, folks. It does bring up, though, if any of you have a spirit board, even I think using some of these electronic devices, and now I'm convinced with the other mediums, we're throwing off a psychic or a ethereal power that, yeah. All right, folks, see you tomorrow with Miss Trina. Tune in with Miss Jenny here. I'm going to back out here a little bit early so I can meet with her at her time, with her to guest, which should be fun. So Heidi, we love you. Everyone else, thank you. Love y'all. Beautiful people, soul tribe. We're learning. When this gathering gets here, this is going to be fun. I think there's going to be a lot of different adventures. So I hope this helped. If you can remove the fear and replace it with, knowledge. I mean, you don't go out in the wilderness unless you prepare, right? So, Heidi, we love you, dear. Jules, how you doing, darling? Looking good there, Gaia. Thank you. Everyone said True Divine 44. If you don't have her link, type it in and join us at the top of the hour. You're welcome, Big Al. This is good stuff. Heidi, I will give Dancer that hug all the time. All right, folks, tomorrow, a second look with Miss Trina. I think we're going to pick up on this because we're really onto something on here. I mean, yeah, I'm hearing Jim Morrison in the Doors, break on through to the other side. So there we go. All right, there we go. Jules put it in there in the link in the chat room. So check it out. See y'all in a little